That's Nick.
And that's Joseph. And today we're here to talk about 47 Meters Down, Uncaged. The sequel to the surprise hit film 2017, 47 Meters Down. Both directed by Johannes Roberts.
Oh, same director.
Same director, yeah.
Okay.
And screenwriter, I believe.
Okay.
Ernest Riera.
So the first film was like was that my favorite movie of 2017? Or second favorite?
It was up there.
It was up there with Kidnap.
I was made to see it more than once in the theater.
I love 47 Meters Down. It was terrifying. It was so terrifying I walked out of a theater twice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because
I couldn't take it. And I ended up owning it because I love it so much. Mm-hmm. So I was very excited to see this movie.
And most people know that film is the Mandy Moore shark movie, if you're not recalling the title.
Yes.
Because in that movie, they get stuck in a shark cage that's 47 meters down. But in the sequel...
Well, so I think the premise of the first one is what makes it so great.
Sure.
And even when I describe the plot of the first one to people, it sounds terrifying. Mm-hmm. Like they go on a shark dive, they're in a cage, the chain breaks, and they sink 47 meters down without a way to get up, except swimming through like a bunch of sharks. Mm-hmm. This film, the premise is a little more convoluted and...
Well, there's nobody 47 meters down, and it's obviously Uncaged would indicate that they're out in the open water, but it's...
So the premise of this film is 4 girls, young ladies.
They're supposed to be teenagers.
Are they supposed to be teenagers? They look quite grown, but 4 young women who are in school together take a little day trip.
But they're in Yucatan, Mexico.
They're in Yucatan.
So they're kind of like expats almost. Like
I understood that they were like at a fancy
prep school.
Yeah, because there were a lot of white people. A lot of people who weren't Mexican went to this school, which means it's probably nice. But they go on like a day trip.
Okay.
So, and they don't tell anyone where they're going.
Right, but to back up...
Well, let's say the basic plot.
The basic plot is, yes, that.
So just like the first movie is 2 girls sink at the bottom of the ocean in a shark cage, this one is 4 girls go to like a secluded lagoon where they get trapped in an underwater like cave that's also like a sunken city.
Yeah. So the remnants of a sunken city in these caves.
And they're being stalked by 2
giant blind great white sharks.
So that's the premise.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So the teen girls, the lead is Mia, played by Sophie Nélisse, who is an actress from Quebec who was a child actress that's kind of becoming a young woman now.
Oh, okay.
This film is also rife with nepotism because it is the first role for Sylvester Stallone's daughter, Sistine Rose Stallone.
Who's she?
The dumb one, Nicole.
The one who looks like the oldest one.
Yeah, and the one that keeps saying, like, Nicole, don't do that. And
she's the one who is like crabs in a bucket. And that's Sylvester Stallone's daughter.
Yep. And Mia's stepsister.
Who's gorgeous.
Sasha. Guess whose daughter she is? Her name is Corinne Foxx.
That's Jamie Foxx's daughter?
Yeah.
Wow. The pictures I have seen of her were back in the day because he's taken her to award shows. Mm-hmm. She was like a little pudgier and kind of had like, wow, she's gorgeous. Mm-hmm. Yes. She almost reminds me of like a Zoe Kravitz.
Yeah, I could see that.
She could be a model.
Yeah. So she's also in it, obviously. So they're stepsisters that don't really...
What about the Asian lady?
She's not birthed by anyone famous.
Well, so starting off with the 4 female leads, I thought they all did a good job.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, they weren't like your typical like B-grade horror film type screaming ladies. I thought they all did a good job. They're gorgeous. I didn't think they looked like they were in high school. No. Especially the Asian lady. She has tattoos all over.
Yeah.
There's no way that bitch is under 18.
Especially with the lead white girl, Sophie Nélisse. She seemed the youngest. Her look, she reminded me of Juliette Danielle from The Room every now and then.
Yeah, but then that also makes her seem like the youngest. But none of them seem like they're in high school. But whatever. I don't know that was a high school. It's a
Yeah.
Which still seems like it would be like for under 18. But anyway.
So the girl's parents are John Corbett. Remember him from My Big Fat Greek Wedding? Who actually looks the same.
Yeah, he looks good.
And then Nia Long.
Nia, girl.
She looks good, but...
Yeah, she will always look good. But she had nothing to do. And
except say, watch your tone.
Yeah. Oh, poor Nia. And they named her Jennifer.
Yep. Jennifer.
It was lovely to see her, but yeah, she had nothing to do.
Yeah, Corbett's character has... So he is excavating these...
this underwater city.
That's his job.
Yeah.
And he's...
It seems like he also maybe owns... Well, I don't know. It's not clear to me what he does, but...
It's a plot point of his that he'll also be in the vicinity of these caves that these girls end up going to. And of course, as they're struggling to survive after they've been attacked, they run into him and his... Underwater.
Him, like, welding something.
Yes.
Underwater.
And the two young men that work for him.
Okay, so the film starts with Mia being bullied at school and her stepsister... kind of like not defending her. So Mia ends up getting pushed into a pool, which is the opening scene, which I thought looked really cool.
Yeah. There are some pretty good shots in this.
There's some really good shots. Also, the music I thought was really good. So I thought the sound editing in general was very good.
So Tom and Andy did the soundtrack, and they also did the soundtrack for the first one. But they've done a lot of horror film. They did Sinister 2. They did one of the Resident Evil films.
Okay.
And they also did the soundtrack for... I think their best soundtrack, their best work is Rules of Attraction.
I'm not familiar with that, but they clearly did good work. Like, yeah, I thought the sound, that was probably the biggest thing I walked away from was it sounded great.
Yeah.
I was listening to it with some nice earbuds from my laptop, and I thought it sounded fantastic. So she's pushed into a pool. So when her stepmom, Nia Long, picks her up from school, she's soaking wet, and then her stepsister is kind of being quiet. So obviously there's some tension. Then we come to find out that they just recently moved to the area and Mia is not very popular. That family dynamic was unnecessarily awkward. I don't know that I needed them to establish that the two stepsisters don't get along, because as soon as they then cut to the next day, their dad bought them, I guess in an effort to help them sort of like bond. He buys them like a cruise on a boat that has a glass bottom so they can view great white sharks, which is an important plot point at the end of the film. Mm-hmm. So the next day they go to this cruise, but the more popular sister, her friends come to rescue her and say, forget this shark cruise, we're going to make our own fun.
This secret grotto.
So they go to this secret grotto, so obviously no one can find them. And almost instantly they all connect really well.
Yeah.
So it didn't really seem like...
There's a montage where they're like splashing around in the pool, and I had to write down the lyrics of the song because it was something like, somewhere in my heart is a star that shines for you. Like, what the fuck is that song doing playing over that? But
I don't know, but I did like that song. I remember it.
But it...
So I just felt like their family dynamic is so awkward for them to ultimately get along swimmingly pretty quickly. So of course these four dum-dums decide, because there's some like scuba diving gear that's been left behind for some people, some archaeologists or someone who are planning on coming. So they decide to dive and go into this underground city which has all these caves. So this is probably my biggest issue with the film. So there are many shark films that I am a fan of, and they all have similar themes, which is like open water, literally open water, the film Open Water 2, The Reef, Dark Tide, 47 Meters Down, The Shallows. They all have the similar theme of like, you're exposed in this open water, and the way sharks attack is from out of nowhere. But then this film puts you in like, there are a lot of places to hide. It's very cramped. It's very like busy, and
it felt like that movie, The Descent, Neil Marshall's The Descent, which I really love. The claustrophobia of the caves, kind of, but it doesn't work with the behavior of sharks.
So I understand it because I'm not a shark expert. I'm not a marine biologist, but I thought sharks, they don't creep. Like these big ass great whites don't creep. They kind of stalk from afar, and then they like project themselves like missiles to their prey.
They're also blind, and the kind of creatures that live without light are in the depths of the ocean, which these girls are not anywhere near them.
Right.
And so how are they eating and surviving in here? And then they end up... It just doesn't make any sense. And then they're wedged into these small caves, thrashing at them. These sharks' behavior is about as dumb as those backward swimming sharks in Deep Blue Sea.
Yeah. So that is my biggest issue. It just, there were very few moments where I was like on the edge of my seat, like, oh my God, watch out. Because it's like, it's so cramped and that we already know that there's going to be something around the corner. Like jump scares, which is weird for like a shark movie. Because for shark movies, it's more about that dread of the open water is what's scary.
And that fin that you see. And...
Yes, you never see like a shark fin and But anyway, so about halfway through their ordeal, Mia and Sasha bump into their dad/stepdad, who's also in the caves welding. And at that point, one of his assistants finds them and is immediately killed by the shark. So no one reacts to him dying. They're literally more scared that there's a shark than like Ben just died.
John Corbett seems very nonchalant.
Yes.
Like, not bothered.
Super chill.
Yep.
So then he attempts to save them. They are able to get back out into like the opening to the lagoon. So they're kind of in this open like pool of water. And then they're just like splashing around the middle of the water, talking about their like the sharks and whatever. And they see the sharks like beneath them. And their plan is to kind of use
they throw a rope over there.
They had a rope to allow them to get into the water. The plan was for them to climb back up the rope. But Sylvester Stallone's daughter ends up being like greedy as hell. And she tries to like step over one of her friends and it causes the rope to break. So 2 of them are eaten right away. So we're left with 3. And very quickly after that, another one gets eaten. So we're left with 2, the sisters.
Yeah.
So they managed to go back through the underground city, through the caves, out into the open water of the ocean. And then they swim out and see a boat. But that boat is the glass bottom shark viewing boat.
Where they're chumming the water.
Where they have to chum the water to attract sharks. So these 2 unfortunately swim into like chummed water, which is like the bloody fish soup that attracts the sharks. The ending I did like.
Yeah, it was
cool. It looked great. Yeah. And it was intense. Like, of course, the 2 girls are attacked by sharks and miraculously are able to get out of the shark's grasp.
Miraculously, yes.
Which is, it's ridiculous and unbelievable, but it did look really cool. And there was a lot of emotion. That was the only part where I kind of felt like, oh. So it just ends with both of them getting on the boat, which happened to also have the girls who were bullying Mia. So the assumption is now they're going to shut the hell up because Mia just fucking survived the shark attack and saved her sister.
Stabbed a great white's eyeball out.
So she's a badass now. So hopefully she will continue in school and not being picked on.
Yeah. Some of the dialogue, there's a point where they first see that old blind fish that precipitates the sharks. And Stallone's daughter says something like, "It's never known a human. It's not afraid of us."
I don't think great whites are ever afraid of people.
No, the fish. It's never known a human.
Yes. So some notes I made were when they first deep dive into the cave, there's a lot of moaning because they have the scuba gear with the audio, very sexual moaning. So I can imagine a lot of teenage boys really finding that amusing. I also feel like this film, to me, because it lacked that sort of sense, like that fear, like that visceral fear of being in the open water with sharks. For most of the film, up until about the end, I was more afraid of them suffocating.
Yeah.
Really, I was just like, oh, they're going to run out of air. So that was sort of what concerned me most. You did mention there are some really cool shots. I thought towards the end, they're using in the middle, they use flares because they think that the alarm sound of it will scare the sharks away because they're blind. So there's some really cool shots and visuals from that. Also, the Asian lady, when she dies, I actually thought that was really good.
Yeah.
Like her acting / the...
Oh, yeah, when she suffocates.
Yeah, she suffocates. She's not attacked by
because
sharks.
It's a situation, she is being attacked by a shark, but she has to take off her gear to get away.
Yes.
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah. So this movie's not poorly done. I think it's like...
No, I think the director, Johannes Roberts, he also did... he did a terrible studio horror film called The Other Side of the Door, I think. A few years ago, that was not good. But he did the sequel to The Strangers Prey at Night.
Oh, okay.
Which...
I saw that.
Yeah, he did. And also that movie, for its shortcomings, looked fantastic.
Yeah, this movie looks great. It just felt to me like, oh, I made a film that was very popular, so now there's pressure to make another one. And I didn't have an idea. Like there wasn't an idea, so I just kind of forced something.
It had two different titles during production. Immediately, it was going to be called 48 Meters Down.
Which I actually kind of liked.
And then it was going to be called 47 Meters Down, the next chapter, or something like that. Which also doesn't make sense, because the same characters were abandoned.
This just seemed like something that was very forced.
This is like Open Water 2.
Which I love.
Yeah, I know, but it has nothing to do with...
It doesn't need to. I just think that the idea was not...
Like it wasn't fully fleshed out. It could have been a lot.
It's just not like a cool idea. It was just like it just feels very forced. But it's well done. And, I will say... Compared to how much I liked the first one, it was hard sitting through this one. There were moments where I just wanted to turn the sound off and just, I don't know.
Could you just die?
Yeah, but it's the person who made it. They're a good filmmaker, I think. Yeah, so I hope that they do more movies like this. But I'd recommend what's that movie, Crawl?
Oh yeah, Alexander Aja's Crawl.
If you want to see people cooped up in tight spaces with a predator chasing them, I think Crawl is a better choice. It makes more sense.
Yeah, and it was a lot more fun.
Yeah, and the acting in that is also, I think, good.
Pretty good, yeah.
Yeah. All right. Oh, so I would give it
2 out of 5.
I would give it 2 out of 5 stars. All right.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.